A casual stop on a remote trade moon turns deadly when a human traveler is targeted by arrogant alien enforcers. What was meant to be a routine arrest spirals into something far more dangerous. As tension coils and silence grows heavier, the true nature of humanity's primitive rage begins to unfurl, and it starts with one unfinished breath. Get on your knees, dirtborn, or I'll decorate this street with your organs. The air above Trade Post 9 shimmered with heat and hate. Twin suns blazed overhead, casting harsh shadows over a rust-red plaza filled with market stalls, oil-slick cargo drones, and travelers from 30 systems. The voice came from a Vargathi, Enforcee, scaled, armored, and smug behind his breathing visor. His blaster hummed inches from the human's temple, charged and itching. Around them, the crowd froze. A trio of Zelnar merchants halted mid-bargain. An Ithari noblewoman raised her silken veil, curiosity piqued. Even the stall AI drones paused, their anti-theft subroutines overridden by some deeper program of tension. Because the human wasn't kneeling. He stood still, dust clinging to his boots, sweat trickling down his brow. Hands relaxed by his side. Calm, unnaturally so. Did you hear me? The Vargathi growled. Knees! Now! The human's eyes slowly tracked upward, meeting the enforcer's burning gaze. There was no fear, no defiance either, just something older, quieter, ancient. Behind the human, a child coughed, thin arms clutching a package. Terran civilian, maybe 10 years old. The human shifted slightly, placing his body between the blaster and the girl without a word. The Vargathi sneered. Oh, brave, heroic. You think I won't shoot through a child? He raised the blaster an inch higher. The human reached up, not quickly, not threateningly, and wiped dust from his forehead with the back of his wrist. A single bead of sweat trailed down his cheek, disappearing into the collar of his dark grey jacket. The crowd watched with a kind of reverent dread. They'd heard stories, whispers in trade channels, rumors of Earth and what they did when pushed, but this was one man, alone. No weapons, no armor. The human exhaled slowly. You ever burn down your own house to kill a spider? What? The Vargathi blinked. Because that's the kind of mood I'm in. For a moment no one breathed. Then click. The human tilted his head, not a twitch of fear, just a gesture, like someone testing the wind before lighting a match. The Vargathi's second enforcer shifted. Commander, this one's not logged, no ID chip, no registry tags, no military affiliation. Then he's an illegal. Handle it. The first enforcer pushed the blaster forward. That was the act, the symbol, not the insult, not the threat. The push! And the human's eyes changed just slightly, from distant to focused. He moved, not fast, not loud, just first, a twist of the wrist, a grip on the blaster's barrel, a turn. The weapon cracked sideways into the Vargathi's jaw. Cartilage popped, teeth scattered like coins across the plaza floor. Gasps. The second enforcer raised his gun. Too slow. The human slipped under his arm, elbowed him in the ribs with brutal precision, and dropped him with a sharp knee to the throat. 3 seconds. 2 bodies. The plaza was silent. The child didn't scream. She watched, wide-eyed, clutching the package. Tighter! Scan him again! A voice crackled through the enforcer's comms. We've got something. Scramble level. The AI trembled. He's not untagged, he's sealed, no records, no rank, redacted origin. This isn't illegal, this is... A pause, a rage-class clearance. The Ithari noblewoman took a step back. One word passed her lips, almost prayer-like. Earthborn. The human stepped over the fallen body and picked up the blaster, not to use it, just to inspect it. He clicked the safety on and handed it to the child beside him. Keep. This, you'll trade it for food. She nodded, silent. Then he looked up at the plaza security camera overhead, its red eye blinking nervously. Tell your council, he said. His voice didn't rise, didn't tremble. They pulled a blaster on a human. He turned his back and walked away. Then he added without turning, "Now they'll find out what rage really means." The control room aboard the VSS Predator Fang buzzed with routine until it didn't. Lieutenant Grask's mandibles twitched as a blinking red transmission override lit up his console. "Priority Tier 1 breach," it pulsed. "Unsealed rage class. Incident. Human involvement confirmed." His dorsal fins flattened. "Commander Vul, you need to see this." Commander Vul emerged from the upper bridge stairwell, her armored carapace polished to Council protocol standards. She scowled at the display. "Sector 9, some dust market skirmish?" Grask cleared his throat. 2 enforcers neutralized, blaster disarmed, culprit, human male. No planetary registry, no DNA trace in the common archives. Identity returns a single classification. He tapped the screen. It flickered, then locked. Clearance, rage class human. Access restricted. Below it, in grey, almost unreadable font. Engagement protocol. Do not pursue. Do not engage. Observe from orbit only. Await Council oversight. Vul squinted. Who the hell still has rage class privileges? That category was decommissioned 2 centuries ago. She paused. After the Tarak collapse, Grask hesitated. "Shall I notify Council Prime?" "No," she said too quickly. "We don't start fires just because we saw smoke." The door hissed open behind them. A smaller, soft-voiced creature entered. "Audit Overseer Belmari, Council Internal." "Affairs, I believe," Belmari said, floating slightly above the floor in a translucent shell suit. "You've already started a fire. You just don't know how deep it goes." Vul's hand moved instinctively toward her sidearm. "Relax, Commander. I'm not here to arrest anyone." Belmari gestured gently, and the ship's lights dimmed. A projection shimmered to life. Data crawled across the air, incomplete and broken. Human profiles, blurred photos, audio snippets of screams, strange countdowns, archive clips marked with flickering red seals. One clip showed a soldier stepping over the ruins of a council outpost. His face turned toward the camera. Then the screen went black. "Those," Belmari whispered, "are rage-class operators. There were once 12. Now we think only 1 remains. You just found him." Grask swallowed hard. "We detained him for ID." "Detained?" Belmari turned slowly. "No one detains a rage class. You survive them if you're lucky." Vul crossed her arms. "He didn't kill anyone. Minimal damage." "Which should terrify you," Belmari said, her voice darkening. "He chose restraint. That's not peace. That's a warning shot." The projection shifted again, pulling deeper into restricted systems. Project Nemetheus. File 0-1A Subject 0 displayed pattern silence for 43 hours after planetary strike. No verbal reaction to planetary glassing, no tears, no movement. Until provoked. Provocation. Minor insult from captain-level operator. Result, 148 fatalities. 1 surviving witness. Record corrupted. Belmari turned to Vul. "He's not here by accident. Rage-class humans are decommissioned relics. But that one is still walking and breathing and teaching the galaxy manners again." Vul's face hardened. "What do you want us to do?" "Nothing," Belmari said coldly. "That's the only correct move." "And if he acts again?" The Overseer gave the faintest, almost reverent shrug. "Then you will witness the last myth of Earth play out in real time. I suggest you take notes. Scene shift. Orbiting salvage barge, outer rim trade route. The human sat on the edge of a loading dock, feet dangling over open space. The girl from the plaza sat beside him, chewing on a protein bar. "I sold the blaster," she said proudly. "Got food for 2 weeks." He nodded. She looked up at him. "Are you one of those soldiers from the war?" "I'm the part that was supposed to stay buried." The girl tilted her head. Then why come back? He stared out into space. Because they forgot what happens when you poke the wrong ghost. In the twin-throned halls of Krax-Ur, homeworld of the Tazar Dominion, ritual drums boomed through carved obsidian walls. Warriors sparred in circular pits, while cleric scribes painted fresh kill tallies in war ink. High Executor Vaughn Carr stood atop the central dais, his segmented armor engraved with the blood geometries of 1,000 fallen systems. His eyes glowed with warlike curiosity as his aide approached. "Executor," the aide said, bowing his crest. "A disturbance. Galactic Council channels are whispering about a Terran. Rage class." Vaughn Carr's grin exposed razored fangs. "They said those were extinct." "Apparently not. Trade Post 9. 2 enforcers neutralized. No formal assault. Minimal damage." Vaughn Carr snorted. "Then it was posturing. A myth made flesh and found weak." The aide hesitated. "Respectfully, Executor, the Council is not treating this lightly. Oversight personnel have issued orbital distancing protocols. No direct contact. No provocation." The Executor stepped down from the dais and loomed over the aide. Fear of a single human. Not just any human. The aide activated a display orb. Across its surface, fragmented council files shimmered. Distorted combat logs. Battlefield. Telemetry warped by radiation and classified filters. One clear image survived, a human figure standing among flaming ruins, no weapons visible, eyes unreadable, and behind him, miles of dead. "Project Nemetheus," the aide whispered. "From the Forgotten Incursion." Executive Vaughn Carr narrowed his gaze. "They burned out their own records to hide what happened. We never got the full story. Only rumors." He tapped the orb. "What's the survivor rate?" 0.01%. The only known witness went mute, clawed his own throat. "Out!" Vaughn Carr turned away, jaw clenched in grim thought. "So, a lone Terran returns, not with armies, not with ships, but with silence and fists." He laughed, deep and guttural. "Then I will meet him, not with fleets, with myself. If he bleeds, he dies. If not, then we rewrite our entire understanding of what it means to anger Earth." Scene shift, Interceptor-class freighter. En route to uncharted drift sector, the human sat inside the dim-lit hold of a patched-together freighter. The girl lay curled up in sleep nearby, snoring softly into a nest of cloth and synth foam. He stared at an old screen. Static. Then it blinked. "Incoming encrypted transmission." "Ghost Channel 7." He hesitated, then tapped it. A shadowed face appeared, aged, scarred, unmistakably human. "Kid," the voice rasped, "you started something." The human leaned forward. "They drew first." "I know. And you answered like we always feared you would." The voice paused. "Didn't think there were any of us left. I didn't think I'd need to come back. You never left, not really. They see one of us stand again, they start digging through the files. They found me. And when they find me, they find the bunkers, the labs, the plans." Silence thickened. "We were designed for extinction missions," the old man continued. "No diplomacy, no capture, just ruin. You still have your fail-safes?" I shut them off. "You think you're in control?" "I am in control." The screen flickered. The face faded, the human leaned back, eyes heavy. Then soft footsteps. The girl stood there, sleepy-eyed. "Were you talking to someone?" He nodded. "Ghost." She rubbed her eyes. "Are they angry?" "No. Just scared of what's coming." Scene. Shift to Tsar Dominion. Planetary Coliseum. Executor Vaughn Carr stood in full ceremonial warplate before thousands of roaring kin. The sky above was lined with watching warships. He raised a clawed fist. "We will find this Terran ghost. We will test him. The galaxy hides from him. But we are the Tazar. We hunt legends." The crowd bellowed in approval. But deep within his second heart, Vaughn Carr felt a strange emotion stir. Not excitement, not ambition, something colder. He remembered the final log from the Battle of Nihil. Reach, where a single Terran turned a fleet into wreckage with nothing but misdirection, miscommunication, and psychological pressure. And the final voice memo, distorted but real. You brought your gods to the battlefield. We brought silence, and in that silence, you all screamed. Aboard the Tazar stealth vessel Reaper Claw, Commander Sketh watched the drift charts pulse on the nav glass. Their quarry, human, unregistered, possibly myth, was slipping between rim stations like smoke through fingers. "Where is he?" Sketh growled, tail lashing behind him. "He was here," one of the techs replied, scanning trade ring 7 Gamma. 3 cycles ago. Left no ID, no docking logs, nothing but this. A file opened, a still image, a dark corridor. Graffiti etched into steel, not in paint, clawed in. He wakes, where war sleeps. Below it, a symbol, Earth's ancient war flag, barely remembered. By the stars, now feared by its old enemies, Sketh hissed low. Is this some kind of message? No, it's a trail marker. The technician zoomed out. Each abandoned station they traced had similar graffiti, each in human-coded battle slang. Field glyphs, known only to Terran Black Ops. He wants us to follow. Why? Commander Sketh stepped back. Because he doesn't hunt with weapons. He hunts with fear. Scene shift, freighter-class salvage ship moving through Driftfield X-21. The human sat alone in the dark, checking the readings on a modified wrist display. The girl slept in the next chamber, unaware of how close they were to being discovered. Pressed a small button. A light projected a slow-motion scan of a Tazar cell closing in. One vessel, cloaked, traveling quiet. He watched them like a hawk watches prey pretending to stalk it. "They think I'm running," he murmured to know. Then he stood, not to flee, but to prepare. He walked to a storage bay, peeled open a sealed container, and inside, wrapped in worn cloth and restraint fields, lay the remains of an old Terran weapon. Not a standard military issue. This one was personal. He ran a hand along its edge. It vibrated. Scene shift. Abandoned orbital mining station. Hours later, the Reaper Claw docked under full stealth protocol. Commander Sketh and 5 elite hunters moved in, weapons drawn, optics humming. They found no resistance. Just silence. Scanned for life signs. None. Not even vermin. The main chamber doors slid open. Inside, dozens of droids, mercenaries, and rogue scavengers lay sprawled on the floor, not dead, paralyzed, conscious, eyes darting, mouths sewn shut, not with thread, but with melted communication implants. On the far wall, a phrase written in plasma, burn across a crate. They drew, "A weapon." So I answered. And beneath it one word, "Leave." One of the Tazar touched the wall. His claws trembled. "Commander," he whispered, "we've stepped into something we can't read." Sketh snapped back, "We are hunters. He is flesh and blood." But then the lights dimmed. Not due to damage. The station had lowered its own power. Every AI module offline, as if even machines didn't want to witness what came next. Scene shift, Vaughn Carr's warship cracks orbit back in the war halls. Executor Vaughn Carr stood before a growing crowd of high-caste generals. "Your hunting party reports no." "Success," said one. "Should we escalate to fleet level?" Vaughn Carr frowned. "No, but he taunts us. He humiliates the Dominion." "He warns us," Vaughn Carr corrected. The generals scoffed. Then he activated the transmission logs from the Reaper Claw, showed the bodies, the writing, the terrified scavengers, alive but forever silenced. "Do you know how hard it is," he growled, "to not kill but still deliver this level of message?" Silence in the room. This is not some berserker human. This is a ghost who chose not to burn the station to ash. "Not yet." He turned away. "And I need to know why." Scene shift, human ship, en route to Ghost Belt. 7. The girl woke, rubbing her eyes. Where are we going? He glanced at the nav screen. To where the war was buried. Is it safe? No, he said plainly, but nothing worth remembering ever is. She frowned. Are they still following us? Yes. Are you going to kill them? He looked at her seriously. I'm going to teach them. Ghost Belt 7 wasn't on most maps. Not anymore. Its orbit was cluttered with debris, burned, ships, shattered stations, and the skeletal remains of satellites that once screamed warnings in every language the galaxy had. Now, only one beacon remained functional. It pulsed once every hour, just one word: do not enter. The human docked in the shadow of a ruined orbital weapons array. Its frame was warped, melted by what once had been a direct mass core detonation. The girl looked out through the viewport, wide-eyed. What happened here? History, he said. They disembarked. The station smelled of ozone and rust. Lights flickered half alive. Old Earth tech, the kind that ran on rage, wires, and stubbornness, still clung to life in the bones of this place. As they walked, the human tapped his wrist device. A low, guttural chime responded. Then, movement. Steel doors, fused shut for decades, unlatched with a hiss that echoed like a ghost's breath. The girl stayed close. In the chamber ahead, walls were covered in Terran markings, symbols not even modern humans used anymore. Beneath them, Leopards, 12 of them, each sealed, each marked with a call sign. 11 showed red status lights, dead. 1 blinked blue, still online. Still waiting. The girl whispered, "What are they?" "Original operators," he said. "Each one built to end wars. Some never even deployed." He knelt beside the blue pod. His own name was etched on its edge. Not in paint, not with tools, but with fingernails, and beneath it a phrase, "If I wake again, the galaxy has forgotten." He stood slowly. "And now, I remember." Scene shift. Council observation deck, Station Helion. Prime Belmari watched from a distance, neural implants, pulsing with grim data. "He's entered Ghost Belt 7, the AI assistant confirmed. Long-dead Terran military facility. She turned to Councillor Varesh, an aquatic diplomat from the Polari Corps. "If he reconnects to Nemethius," she said, "it's over." Varesh scoffed. "He's one man." "No," she said, eyes dark. "He's the man, the last operator. They buried him with the others for a reason." Varesh leaned forward. "Then why the council silence? Why no strike?" "Because the only thing more dangerous than him alive is him provoked." Scene shift. Executor Vaughn Carr's warship. Outer orbit, the Tazar fleet now hovered just outside the Ghost Belt's edge. The wreckage field bristled with latent mines and automated defense arrays too old to obey modern hails. Vaughn Carr stood at the command deck, a claw tapping rhythmically. "We're being watched," one officer muttered. He nodded. "He wants us here. He wants us to follow." A soft beep. "Executor, we're detecting minor power flux inside one of the derelicts. Location matches Terran." "It was signature. He's active." Vaughn Carr stepped forward. "Send no ships. Not yet. Let him wake his past." Scene shift. Underground chamber. Ghost Belt. 7. The human knelt in front of an ancient console. Dust caked the surface. His hand hovered over a black switch labeled in faded English. "Operator protocol. Re-engage." The girl tugged his sleeve. "If you turn that on, what happens?" He looked at her, not angry, not afraid, just honest. "They'll remember why Earth was left alone." She hesitated. "Will you change?" He paused. "I already did." He flipped the switch. The entire station shuddered. Old relays kicked on. Lights surged, doors locked, warning klaxons blared through decomposed speakers. From deep below, hydraulic lifters groaned, and machines long thought lost rose from subsurface vaults, Titan-class mechs, infantry droids, AI warbrains flickering back to cognition, all scanning, all searching, until one, with a broken vocal box, rasped a single word, Operator, recognized. Then every system on the station aligned to his heartbeat, and far above, in orbit, Vaughn Carr's ship began receiving a signal. On every band, every channel, a voice, human, male, calm, delivered. The message: you drew a weapon on a Terran, you wanted to see rage, welcome to where we buried it. For the first time in 173 years, the war furnaces of Earth's ghost belt roared back to life. Deep under the metallic crust of the derelict station, reactors rumbled awake, walls shimmered with rediscovered heat. Ghosts in the circuits. Terran. War AIs spoke in clipped combat code, sharing old knowledge like monks reciting sacred scripture. The central core identified the operator. Rage class. Validated initiate, furnace mode, containment, escalation, mirror. Authorization: Humanity Prime, sealed overrider perimeter field, ignited across the wreck belt, forming a jagged, blinking wall of fused mines and energy distortions. Impossible to scan, impossible to bypass. Inside it, the human, the girl, and the worst parts of Earth's past. Scene shift aboard Executor Vaughn Carr's flagship. Perimeter just formed around the ghost belt, one of the officers barked. Our ships are being pinged with an ancient Terran code, repeating sequence, non-translatable by Council lexicon. Visual only, Vaughn Carr ordered. A short clip played on the main screen. It was grainy. Deliberately so. It showed humans standing on the deck of the station, surrounded by rows of ancient mech suits and droid units. No speech, just a visual message. He held up a single finger. Slowly. Then the screen cuts to black. Below it, a simple message. One more warning. Vaughn Carr paced. He's turned a graveyard into a crucible. He's not hiding. He's inviting us, a lesser general hissed. Executor, let us breach. One cruiser, just to test the response. Then go, Vaughn Carr said coldly. And if you die, I'll have my answer. Scene shift Ghost Belt 7, internal bay. For the girl watched as the human manually activated relic drones cleaned out vents, reconnected power cables. He moved like he'd done this 1,000 times. These things, they still work. They were built to outlast civilizations, he replied. She paused. Why do you need them? He looked up. Because they need to see it, up close. They need to feel it in their bones, not just destruction, but consequence. Scene shift, Tazar cruiser, Fang's bite. The strike cruiser approached the Ghost Belt perimeter cautiously, its stealth armor shimmering, crew tense. Crossing into the field in 3, 2. A shudder passed through the ship. We're in, said the pilot. No contact. Then came a click, a single signal, Earthside war code, latched onto their systems. The entire ship went dark. Manual overrides failed. Lights flickered, gravity inverted. The screens lit up with one line, mirroring engaged. Learn what you brought. From the outer hull, a pulse of EMP fire surged inward. The crew screamed as backup power overloaded, and then silence. The ship floated, dead, just inside the perimeter. Its engines are gone. Its AI is lobotomized. Its crew breathing but paralyzed. Their pain, intentional, distributed evenly across each nerve center, not fatal, educational. Scene shift, Executor Vaughn Carr's command bridge. A silent alert appeared. Cruiser. Status intact. Crew non-fatal. Systems wiped. Vaughn Carr bared his teeth. This isn't a battlefield, he muttered. It's a damn museum, and he's the tour guide. One of his elite guard growled, then let us end the show. We storm the station, break every corridor. No, Vaughn Carr snapped. He's not defending that station. He is that station. The moment we engage, he'll bury us in our own fear. His claw tapped a control panel slowly. He's preparing us for something, not just revenge, something bigger. Scene shift, deep core of Ghost Belt. 7. The human stood before the last sealed vault. Inside it, files, histories, secrets, the truth of the Rage class program. He stared at the biometric reader. The station whispered, "Are you certain, operator?" He placed his hand on the pad. "Let them remember why they feared us." The vault hissed open, and the files began to upload, not to the Council, not to the Dominion, but to the whole galaxy. Across the stars, screens flickered on freighters, in palaces, in mining colonies and council chambers. Devices came alive, hijacked by something older than protocol and stronger than any firewall. A symbol appeared first, a burning Earth wrapped in barbed wire, surrounded by 13 stars. A voice followed, not loud but absolute. "You think you know Earth, you think we were conquered, forgotten, primitive. This is the part we buried, and now we're digging it up." Then the feed began. Galaxy-wide transmission, Rage Archive 0, date, unknown location, classified Earth warfront, ghost sector, Delta footage. Unsealed. The screen showed footage. Real, unfiltered. A war zone on fire. Not aliens, not machines. Just humans, fighting like they belonged in hell. One soldier, cloaked in ash, walked through the battlefield with no helmet. He stared into the enemy line, as if daring the entire galaxy to breathe wrong. In another clip, a squad of Terrans activated neural dampeners and marched into a live black hole detonation zone. Not because they wanted to die, but because someone told them it would slow the enemy down by 3 seconds. Rage class wasn't about anger, the voice said. It was about belief. The belief that some things are worth ending everything for. Then came the file logs. Each operator was profiled. Rage 07, silence protocol, deafened himself to avoid psionic attacks. Rage 04, bloodlock, trained to remain conscious while exsanguinated. Rage 01, ghost trigger, never confirmed, killed. Code, operator returned, and him, Rage 01, the one now standing inside Ghost Belt 7 scene shift. Council world, prime chamber of species. Unity diplomats screamed. "We sealed this information. He's violating multi-galactic code. Pull." The transmission. Belmari stood alone in the center, still watching the feed play out. "No," she whispered. "He's not violating anything, he's reminding us." Varesh turned to her, panicked. "Then remind him we've changed." Belmari didn't move. "He doesn't care." Scene shift. Executor. Vorn Kar's war room. Every warrior watched the screen. Even the war-caste priests, bred without emotion, looked pale. One clip showed a Rage-class operator walking calmly through the vacuum of space, body scorched, lungs collapsed, but still fighting, eyes locked on the target. Another showed an entire Tazar siege line reduced to molten wreckage. From inside, "We never saw these files," whispered one general. "No one did," said Vornkar, "because Earth chose peace. But now the grave has opened." His claws clenched. "We're not facing a man, we're facing a lesson." Scene. Shift. Ghost Belt 7. Archive control deck. The girl stared at the holograms playing across the room. Earth's past, rendered in blood and sacrifice. "Why didn't they show this to anyone?" she asked. "They tried," the human said, "but the galaxy called us beasts, monsters, so we became something worse. Memories." She paused. "Are you going to become that again?" He looked down at her. "No. I'm going to become the reminder that no one wanted." The broadcast ticked down to its final sequence. Final archive upload, humanity's directive, Operation Mirrorfire. If found, activate only when fear is no longer enough. Let them see the shape of our silence. He input. The final code. The message went out, every species, every channel. One final phrase burned into their systems. "You drew a weapon on a Terran. You woke the part we buried. You don't get to forget us anymore." Scene shift. Outer Rim. Pirate world of Narthaxa. Zelnar warlord spat out his drink. "We attacked. Humans once. Long ago." One of his crew stared at the screen. "And they let us live?" "No," the warlord said softly. "They let us forget," which was worse. Scene shift. Ghost Belt 7. observation bay. The girl watched as lights began flashing on dozens of dormant war machines, mechs, drones, orbital satellites. "What now?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. Then, "Now, we wait, to see who's stupid enough to test what they just watched." A low rumble shook the station, not from the inside, from outside. Proximity alarms, a fleet, dozens of ships entering the perimeter. "They're coming," the girl whispered. He stood, eyes hard. "They always do. They came in waves, to Tsar. Cruisers, Harken frigates, even mercenary bands eager to make a name by claiming a Terran scalp. 72 ships crossed into Ghost Belt 7's outer zone, weapons charged, confidence high, because arrogance was cheap, and they hadn't felt the cost yet. Aboard the lead ship, Spear of Dominion, Captain Drell Kull leaned forward, voice amplified across the assault fleet. "Terran target located. Station is ancient, low energy. Expect psychological interference. Eliminate with extreme force. Fire at will. Cannons charged. Missiles prepped. Fleet-wide countdown. 5, 4, 3. Then silence. Not from the Terran station, but from the fleet. Targeting systems crashed. HUDs glitched. Gravity blinked in and out. A chill moved through every deck as words appeared on each screen. Initiating mirror fire protocol. You brought fear. We reflect on it. Then, their own systems turned against them. Scene shift. Ghost Belt 7. Observation deck. The girl clutched the edge of the console. "What did you do?" "I didn't launch anything," the human said, calm as a still lake. "I just showed them who they really are." From orbit, the invaders saw the station remain, motionless, no turrets, no counterfire. Instead, their ships began to fire on themselves, cannons aimed at ally hills, drones switched IFF tags, command bridges flooded with false enemy pings, fleet-wide chaos. "What's happening?" one Tsar officer screamed, as their navigation spun into deep space loops. Only the human's voice responded, broadcast through every ship's comms. "Mirror fire isn't a weapon. It's a lesson, one you teach yourselves. Aboard mercenary ship Firefang, we're firing on our own support team," someone yelled. "Override the AI. I can't. It's like we're fighting our own memory." The ship's emergency feed flickered. It showed not real-time footage, but replays from the crew's previous battles. Their worst moments, their war crimes, their betrayals. One by one, each crew member was forced to witness themselves. Broadcast. Shared, burned into the logs, and then shut down. No explosion, just failure. Utter, humiliating failure. Scene shift. Executor Vornkar's flagship, watching from beyond the perimeter. "They're not dying," said one of the officers. "They're breaking." "Discipline is disintegrating," another added. Some crews are surrendering mid-maneuver. Others are evacuating into the void without pressure suits. Vornkar's eyes narrowed. "What is this madness?" Belmari's voice came over a secure channel. She was watching too. "It's not madness," she said. "It's memory warfare. Earth invented it when bullets became too slow. The protocol uses your fleet's own data, stress profiles, and decision trees to make your men relive the moment they failed. Then it locks them inside it." "You mean they're not fighting the Terran?" she whispered. "They're fighting themselves." Scene shift, Ghost Belt 7, lower platform. The girl watched as a tactical display lit up with ships blinking offline one by one. "They're not ready for you," she said quietly. "No," the human replied, "and I didn't come for war." She looked at him. "Then why?" He stared out into the stars. "To remind them that humanity doesn't need a fleet, or a planet, or even numbers." He stepped forward, voice low but clear. "We just need someone to draw first." Final transmission. From the battle, picked up across 14 galactic channels, this is Captain Drell Kull of the Dominion Assault Fleet. I can't tell what's real anymore. My ship thinks I'm the enemy. My own hands won't obey. We weren't ready for this. This isn't war. This is judgment. I surrender." The rest was static. Scene shift. Council prime panic. Silence. Decision paralysis. Belmari stood before the council table. "This," she said, gesturing to the ruins of the assault fleet playing across holoscreens, "is what happens when you poke the ghost of Earth long enough." Varesh slammed a fist onto the table. "What do we do?" Belmari didn't blink. "We do nothing, because there is nothing left to do." She paused. "Except maybe—" "Listen. Scene shift. Ghost belt. 7. Final frame." The human turned off. The station's weapon systems. The storm had passed. The ghosts had spoken. He sat beside the girl who looked at him with the weight of someone who had seen truth. "Was that the last time?" she asked. He looked up at the stars. "I hope so," he said. "But hope," he added quietly, "isn't a strategy." The diplomatic cruiser hovered just outside the wreck belt's final perimeter, broadcasting peace codes on all channels. No weapons, no escorts, no arrogance, just one message. "We request an audience." Inside the vessel stood 5 representatives, one for the Council, one for the Dominion, and 3 from neutral systems who had once mocked Earth as a death world fluke. Now they weren't mocking, they were wondering, what came after Rage? Scene shift, Ghost Belt 7 docking platform. The human stood at the edge of the dock, watching the cruiser approach like one might observe a storm cloud that hadn't decided whether to drench or destroy. Beside him, the girl whispered, "Will they try something?" "No," he said. "Not now. They've seen the mirror." She frowned. "Will you talk to them?" He didn't answer right away. Then, "Only if they ask the right question." The cruiser docked. The airlock opened. From the mist stepped Belmari, alone. No guards, no tech armor, just layered robes and a face full of exhaustion and respect. She approached slowly, stopping 2 meters from him. "I'm not here to apologize," she said. "Good," he replied. "I don't need apologies. I need a memory." She nodded once. "We've all seen it now, the archive, the operators, the mirror fire logs, the programs we sealed and erased because we were afraid of what it said about us, not you. And what does it say now?" he asked. She looked him dead in the eye. "That Earth never stopped protecting us, not even after we betrayed it." A long silence stretched between them. Then she asked, "Do you want revenge, or do you want something else?" Scene shift, Council transmission room. Live feed across the galaxy, billions tuned in to the encrypted broadcast. The feed showed the platform, the human standing like a monument of consequence. Belmari, standing with hands unclasped, awaiting judgment. He stared at the camera, then he spoke. "You all saw what we buried. You all felt what we kept quiet. For generations, Earth let itself be forgotten, not because we were weak, but because we wanted peace more than fear." His voice cut through every speaker, deep and composed. "But fear was easier for you to respect, so we reminded you." He turned slightly, showing the rusted hulls of Council and Dominion ships still orbiting the station like orbiting skeletons. "This is what happens when you mistake silence for surrender. You wanted to know what rage meant. Now I want to know something else? Are you ready to stop fearing what we were and start building with what we've become?" Scene shift. Dominion High Command. Encrypted chamber. Vaughn Carr watched the broadcast in silence. One of his war priests whispered, "He's offering peace?" "No," Vaughn Carr said quietly. "He's offering a choice. That's more dangerous." Scene shift, Ghost Belt 7. Moments later, the girl sat beside the human as Belmari departed, transmission complete. "You didn't threaten them," she said. "No." "Why?" "Because they already carry the threat in their memory now." She thought about that. "Will they change?" He looked at her with the softest expression he'd shown so far. I don't know, he said, but if they don't, they'll come back. And what happens then? He stood, walking to the edge of the platform, staring into the wreck belt. Then I stopped being a reminder. He clenched his fist. And become a reckoning. Final scene, council response. 72 hours later, a single message was transmitted to every Earth relay, to Ghost Belt 7, and to the human himself. From the council. We remember now. We choose memory over pride. We offer restoration, not just an apology, not because we fear you, but because we finally understand you. Attached. Proposal. Earth reintegration accord. Status. Pending Terran acknowledgement. Clause. 1. Earth chooses its own seat, not among, not below, but as its own power. The chamber was not made of marble or crystal or any gleaming alloy. It was made of steel, old Terran steel, war-forged, carbon-scored, and carried here from Earth itself. In the center, a single chair, not ornate, not symbolic, just strong. The Council had offered a seat, and now the galaxy waited to see if Earth would sit or flip the table. Scene shift, broadcasted across 800-plus systems. Council world representatives from every major species filled the Great Hall. As you say, broadcast carried no delay. Even Vaughn Carr sat silently in the observation booth, claws folded, his warriors unarmored, a sign of surrender or respect. No one could tell which. The Terran humans stepped onto the platform. No guards, no weapons, no flag, just him. He walked slowly, eyes forward, and stopped before the chair. He looked at it, then walked past it. Gasps echoed, murmurs rippled through. The seats. The humans stood at the edge of the stage and looked into the crowd, then up, into the cameras, into every home and station and outpost watching, and he said, "This was never about the chair. Silence. You offered power, but what I brought back wasn't about dominance. It was about memory, and what happens when we bury it." He held up a small black box, flicked it open. Inside, a data shard. This contains every act of every empire that erased Earth from the record, every sanction, every sealed file, every lie of a mission. And we're not releasing it. The council chambers tensed. Because that's what you would have done. Instead, we'll do something you've never tried. We'll give it back to you, all of it. You decide what to do with it, publish it, burn it, drown it, archive it again. We won't interfere. He stepped forward, because if the only way we matter to you is when you're afraid, then the problem was never us. He turned, faced the empty chair and said, "We don't need to sit to be heard. We don't need to rule to remind you we're here. But if you ever forget again..." The room held its breath. "We won't. Remind you twice. Scene shift. Dominion War Council. Private room Vaughn Carr watched the feed fade. No threats, no armies, just a Terran walking away from power like it weighed less than his shadow. One general whispered, "Why refuse the chair?" "Because," Vaughn Carr growled, "he didn't come to join us. He came to change us." Scene shift. Ghost Belt 7. Days later. The girl sat by the viewport, kicking her feet gently against the console. "You could have ruled them," she said. He nodded. "But then I would have become them." She smiled. "You think they'll change?" He shrugged. "Maybe not. But now they know someone's watching." She looked up. "What if they forget again?" He stared out at the stars. "Then I'll make a new chair." He stood, walked, past the war machines, past the sealed Rage-class pods, to the edge of the station's platform, where only space waited, and whispered, "Let history be the weapon now." Final galactic announcement, filed in permanent records across 900 species. Subject, Earth's declined ascension. Classification, non-threat, universal observer. Codename, Ghostfire. Earth has declined its seat at the high table. But the table itself now remembers why it was ever afraid, and that may be the only peace worth keeping. Months passed. Ghost Belt 7 no longer pulsed with war. The defense grid stood silent, mechs dormant. the archives sealed once more, not by encryption, but by choice. The fleet wreckage still drifted in the outer rim. No salvage teams dared touch it. It remained unofficially a grave marker, a lesson in orbit. The galaxy tiptoed around the memory. Some called it the awakening. Others called it the last warning. Only Earth had no name for it. Because Earth had moved on. Scene shift. Trade station Meraxis. Outer Ring 2 Zelnar merchants haggled over scrap parts in a cluttered docking bay. You heard the rumors. One whispered, "They say the Terran's gone, disappeared." "Good, let sleeping devils lie." "I heard he didn't vanish," said a third voice, a young mechanic wiping grease from her hands. "He just stopped being where people expected him to be." They laughed nervously, but they didn't deny it, because across 1,000 stations, people looked over their shoulders now. Not from paranoia, from remembrance. Scene shift. Council world. Hall of records, in a glass-encased vault. The empty chair sat beneath a single spotlight, never occupied, never claimed, just waiting. A small plaque was added beneath it by a silent vote. It read, "Some power needs no throne, some warnings need no voice." Next to it, etched into the wall, was Earth's old flag. Not glowing, not animated, just rust-red metal on black. Stone, and no one dared touch it. Scene shift, deep space transport, 3 sectors from Ghost Belt. 7, the girl, now a little taller, stood aboard a merchant vessel. She wore plain clothes, carried no weapons, but across her chest, a patch. Simple. Grey, the outline of a planet wrapped in barbed wire. A Terran asked her at the galley counter, "You knew him?" She nodded. "Where is he now?" She smiled faintly. "He's doing what Rage class always do." "What's that?" She took a bite of synth fruit, wiped her hands and replied, "Watching, waiting, letting the galaxy decide if it wants peace, or if it wants another reminder." Scene shift, unknown location, underground Terran vault. The lights flickered on. A new operator file was uploaded. Not military, not violent, just prepared. The entry read, "Operator classification, Ghostfire. Protocol 2. Subject, civilian, female, embedded observer. Mission, witness, record, and if needed." "Remind me." Beside the entry, her picture was loaded. A bit younger. Curious eyes, a streak of soot still on her cheek from her first days in the wreck belt. No weapons training, no rage conditioning, just memory. And that was enough. Scene shift. Executor. Vornkar's private war room. The old warlord stared at a tactical map that no longer showed Earth as a red zone. Now it was marked neutral grey, labelled "Do not approach without purpose." His second-in-command asked, "Why keep the tag?" Vornkar smiled without humor, "Because it reminds us what purpose looks like." He turned off the display and whispered, "The most dangerous soldiers are the ones who don't need to fight anymore." Final scene. Edge of known space, a ship drifts silently. No transponder, no flag. Inside it, a man, once called Rage 01. He's older now, still watching. He listens to the news, the petty wars, the ambition of lesser empires. He doesn't move until a distress call lights up in the corner of the screen. Civilian transport, ambushed. No one is coming to help. He sighs, stands, and whispers to the dark, "Let's remind them again." The engines roar to life. The stars blurred past the cockpit glass as the small ship surged into the distress beacon zone. The message had repeated for 4 hours. A medical transport ambushed by scavengers in a dead corridor. No fleets nearby, no escorts, no help. Except scene shift, civilian transport, Rylux Hope. Main deck children huddled in the med bay. Their caretaker, a medic with shaking hands, tried to keep the gravity plates functional. Outside, scavenger vessels circled like sharks. They'd already disabled the engines. Inside, only silence. No guns, no soldiers. The medic whispered, "Stay, quiet." Don't make them angry, a child asked. Is someone coming? She didn't answer, because she didn't want to lie. Then came a knock on the outer airlock. 1, 2, 3, followed by a pulse, a ripple in the ship's systems. Suddenly the light steadied, the engines sparked once, and every external camera blinked out. Then silence outside, not fleeing, not fighting, just nothing. Until the outer doors opened and a man stepped, in no insignia, no rank, but the moment he appeared, the ship's AI, once damaged, spoke clearly. Rage class protocol recognized. Escorting non-combatants to safety. Scene shift, scavenger vessel, dustmore, external view. The ship was cleaved in two. No energy blast, no explosion, just precision. Every vital system is surgically disabled, hull peeled like paper. No casualties, no bodies, just shame. And a single line etched into the command deck's shattered glass. You don't prey on the helpless. Earth is listening. Scene shift, council archives. Decades later, a professor addresses a hall of younglings from a dozen species. Behind her, a projection of Earth, slowly rotating. She gestures to the slide labeled, The Rage Reckoning. Was it war? A child asks. No, she says. It was something harder. Then what did he do? The professor smiles. He made us remember what happens when the strong forget why they're strong in the first place. Scene shift, the girl, now an adult, addressing a new council. She stands at a podium made not of marble, but alloy salvaged from Ghost Belt 7's wreckage. She doesn't wear a flag, only a grey coat, and across her shoulder, the same patch. A burning Earth wrapped in barbed wire. Years ago, she begins, one man reminded this galaxy what peace looks like when it's held by people who don't need it to prove a point. She lets that sink in. He was a weapon. Yes, but I chose not to be. She smiles faintly. And that choice changed everything. Scene shift, uninhabited moon. Years later, a statue stands alone. No plaque, no tourists, just a figure, chiseled from black stone, standing tall with one hand outstretched, not clenched in a fist, but offering help. Around it, the stars spin on. Ships pass, stories echo, and in dark corners of the galaxy, where injustice dares crawl back out from the shadows, people still whisper his name, not as a curse, not as a god, but as a standard. Final frame, encrypted message, destination unknown. To whoever finds this, I wasn't built to save, I was built to survive, but surviving means nothing if no one else gets to, so if they ever forget again, wake the others. Rage doesn't sleep, it waits.